Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're jumping right into one of the biggest, quietest shifts happening in global finance, the birth of the digital petrodollar. It's a strategy that's being designed right now to lock in America's economic power for the next 50 years. You know, for decades, the US dollar has been the king of the hill, the world's undisputed reserve currency. It's the foundation of pretty much all global trade. But for the very first time, that dominance is facing a real coordinated challenge. So the billion-dollar question, or maybe trillion-dollar question is, what's next? Okay, let's break this down. At the heart of this whole thing is a massive technological leap. We are literally shifting from the old kind of clunky banking system that takes days to a new one built on the blockchain that happens in seconds. And on these new rails, money moves as stablecoins, digital tokens that are pegged one-to-one with the US dollar. This isn't just an upgrade, it's a complete rewiring of how money actually works. But to really get where we're going, we first have to understand the system we're coming from. And for the last half-century, the dollar's incredible power has been tied to one thing above all else: oil. This is the story of the petrodollar. Now, the petrodollar isn't a special kind of bill or coin you can hold. It's a system, a really brilliant deal that was struck back in the 70s. The idea was pretty simple. The world agrees to price and trade all its oil in US dollars. In exchange, the big oil-producing countries take all those profits and recycle them back into US government debt. It creates this powerful, self-feeding loop. And this four-step cycle you see here, this is the engine that's been driving dollar dominance for 50 years. It basically forces any country that needs to buy oil, which is everyone, to buy US dollars first. This creates this constant artificial demand for the dollar, which in turn lets the US run huge deficits way more cheaply than anyone else. It's really been the secret sauce of American economic power. So, as you can probably guess, because this system is so vital, protecting it isn't just about economics. For the US, it's a matter of national security. And that perspective, well, it has led to some pretty intense theories over the years about what happens when you challenge it. Which brings us to the petrodollar war theory. This is the idea that any country that tries to break away from selling its oil in dollars, well, they might face some serious consequences. Now, look, it's often called an oversimplification, but the pattern is interesting, right? You have Iraq and Libya. Both made moves to get away from the dollar, and both were followed by military intervention. The key takeaway isn't that it's the only reason for conflict, but that any move against the dollar is definitely seen as a hostile act. But fast forward to today, and that 50-year-old system is facing its biggest stress test ever. For the first time in a long time, we're starting to see some major cracks appear in the foundation of the petrodollar. What's happening is like a perfect storm of three huge forces hitting all at once. First, you've got the BRICS alliance growing, and key players like Saudi Arabia are now openly talking about selling oil in other currencies. Second, America's own energy boom means it just doesn't depend on Middle Eastern oil like it used to. And third, countries around the world have seen the power of US sanctions. And frankly, they're tired of it. They're actively looking for an escape hatch. So, faced with these huge existential threats, do you think the US is just going to sit back and watch? No way. It's launching a really sophisticated counterattack, but this time, it's not with aircraft carriers, it's with code. This is the start of America's crypto strategy. And the main weapon in this new strategy? It's the stablecoin, a technology that's just exploded, going from a tiny crypto niche to what's expected to be a market worth hundreds of billions of dollars. The strategy has this kind of cool name, dollar on a wire. And the idea is to use stablecoins as the super fast delivery system for the US dollar. The goal is to make the dollar faster, cheaper, and easier to use than any other currency out there, embedding it right into the fabric of the new digital economy. And honestly, this is where the strategy is just genius, because it works on two fronts. First, it pushes the dollar out to everyone. Anyone with just a smartphone can now hold and use dollars, completely bypassing their local banks or shaky currencies. But here's the other side. Since regulated stablecoins have to be backed by US Treasuries, every single digital dollar that gets created also automatically buys a piece of US government debt. It's like the petrodollar recycling system, but put on autopilot. And don't think this is some far-off, futuristic idea. The pieces are already moving into place, and they're moving incredibly fast. Projections show that a series of quick, decisive moves could make this digital dollar strategy official US policy as early as 2025. The real game changer, the thing that would tie this all together, is a law like the proposed Genius Act. This kind of legislation would pull stablecoins out of the regulatory shadows and turn them into official, federally overseen financial tools. It would set the rules of the road, saying that every digital dollar has to be backed by the safest asset in the world, U.S. government debt. Now, when you make a shift this radical, you don't just create a new system, you also create a whole new set of winners and losers. You basically crown a new set of financial kings. So, who comes out on top? Well, it's pretty clear. The winners are the companies that get on board with regulation early. We're talking about the stablecoin issuers, the big asset managers, and the blockchain networks that build the compliant, high-speed rails for this new digital dollar. They're all set to become the next financial giants. And on the flip side, the losers are the ones who built their businesses in those regulatory gray areas, often offshore. Without that stamp of federal approval, it's going to be incredibly hard for them to compete for all the big institutional money that's now pouring into the regulated side of the street. And what's so fascinating is how this creates a brand new power structure. You've got crypto-native companies like Circle and Solana now working hand-in-hand with Wall Street titans like BlackRock. And who's overseeing the whole thing? The U.S. Treasury, which suddenly has a massive, new, captive audience to buy its debt. It's a pretty powerful public-private partnership, to say the least. So let's be really clear. What we are witnessing here is not just a tech upgrade. This is about the future of global economic power. We're looking at the blueprint for the next financial world order. And if you just zoom out and look at the big sweep of history, you see this incredible evolution. The dollar's power was first backed by a physical metal, gold. Then it was backed by a physical commodity, oil. And now it's being backed by technology and code. Each era had its own way of enforcing the rules, and in this new one, it's all about regulation. By embracing this massive digital shift, the U.S. is making a powerful bet to keep the dollar as the world's go-to currency. But it leaves us with one final and really fascinating question to think about. As money transforms into pure information, who truly gets to write the rules for the next 50 years?